must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Fellow Africans, every time we are challenged on matters of importance, there is always a path for redemption. The only thing that Kenya needs at the moment is redemption. It's a redemption strategy that can create a coexistence of all the people, all the tribes, all regions, and all shades of opinions. Challenges come at an hour where a country is on a test. Test runs are always the most crucial points. That's where experiments collapse. Kenya is not an experiment. Kenya is a nation that has existed for 56 years. The challenges, therefore, should not make us hate each other. These challenges should unite us, should unite the people of Kenya to push forward an agenda, to follow their president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, in delivering the agenda for a better Kenya. A better Kenya will produce a better East Africa. A better East Africa will produce a better Africa. The challenges, the obstacles that come amongst us are many, but we can overcome them through discussion, a wider range of discussion, wider disagreements to agree and disagree, to agree again and disagree to disagree. But we should not form clubs, units, militias, hatred of that nature that can take us to the history. Germany today is Germany because it doesn't want to go to the path of the history. Germany goes to the path of development. Over 70 years ago, Germany was at war with the entire world. Today, it is on the path of resolving some of the problems that come. I want us to stand in the place of Germany and look forward and backwards. See what we can do here, but not yearn for what is in Rome. What is in Rome is safeguarded, but in Sicily, which is Kenya, we need to build a foundation for the younger generation that we are going to live here today. The many who have no employment, the poverty, the ignorance, the diseases that kill the people of Africa. We need to find a modium of operation. Modus operandi. The only modus operandi on this is a united, peaceful Kenya. A Kenya united by values of respect and adherence to the rule of law. A Kenya without schemes of elimination or fiction of elimination or murders written by themselves. A Kenya without any hatred against the president. A Kenya that supports the constitutional roots that the 2010 constitution of yours brought. That is how Africa will rise and shine again. Thank you.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is.
It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, he is our son and he is our thief.
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader, probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
When President Uhuru Kenyatta thought of a nation, a peaceful nation, a united nation called Kenya, he scored highly to the international community and to Kenyans. When the former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga thought of a nation called Kenya, he scored highly. It is that redemption strategy, the coming together of opposition and the government, the president and the former opposition leader, or the opposition leader of Kenya, that has made Kenya peaceful, united, working together to date. It is therefore very important for the people of Kenya to realize that the most important thing that every African looks at when talking about Kenya is peace. But what kills Kenya is tribal enclaves, bad elections, bad electoral mechanisms, bad political morals. People lack political morals. People lack good electoral mechanisms. People think of tribes. It is not the poor, it is not the rich, it is not the destiny, it is not the hustler nation. No. Those have been there for many times, many years. But what has killed the country is that those one key thing, elections. If Kenya can sort out its electoral mechanism, that a winning candidate embraces a losing candidate, and a losing candidate embraces a winning candidate. You work together as a nation, work together as people of Kenya. That's the day that Kenya will rise and become a very good country, beyond what it is today. But the moment we go back to our tribal enclaves, we poison the politics, We play Machiavellian politics of backstabbing, intrigue, manipulation, machinations that flow in the Kenyan political arena. It's the moment that we destroy the same nation that needs that unity. President Uhuru Kenyatta, therefore, don't give up. Former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, don't give up on unity or purpose. Always strive to unite, leave a legacy of a united Kenya. That is the price you will give to the generations, the grandchildren, to your generations that will come. You might not be there to see the price that you have, the foundation you have laid. But once you leave that legacy of a united, peaceful Kenya, both of you and many other leaders in Kenya should not give up in search for that unity. I thank you very much. Those are my views. I believe a redemption strategy, and I repeat, a redemption strategy, the healing, reconciliation, reparation, accountability, truth-telling, those are the values of the handshake, a united Kenya with capacity to accommodate all. Thank you. Thank you, listeners.
A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. This is the People's Court, and our topic of today is BBI, a time for healing for this country. As we have seen, a lot of people who, even in the past, came out very clearly opposing this process, and we've seen some people taking steps back and trying to look at this BBI afresh and trying to see what other things can be included in the BBI, some of which were included, others maybe time has elapsed. But we've seen a lot of, especially from the DP side, changing positions. Initially he was against the whole process, and then he's warmed up since, and just 2 weeks ago he gave the bare minimum that he said had to be met before he could agree to join the BBI. But we've seen that initially he gave 5, went back to 2, and now I've not had so much of it. Instead, right now, the DP is calling for us to prioritize, so we shall look at that. But before we get to that, I'd like to introduce my panel today, Professor Jared Onyari. Professor, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam, and our panelists.
All right. And also we have Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. Jevan, good morning.
It's a very good morning, Miriam, and a good morning to our viewers wherever they're watching us from. And good morning to my co-panelists, David Jared Onyari, Professor, and Douglas Kiremi. Thank you.
Yes, we always have to address the title, very important, professors and that. Douglas Kiremi, a very good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to Professor Jared Onyari. And good morning to my friend Jevan Karanja, and good morning to our crew and to all our viewers across the world. Very important, Professor.
Learning is difficult. I go to part-time classes. I'm telling you, if I had a choice,
I know I'm not intending to become a professor, so I salute you.
So Professor has earned that title, and I respect you, sir.
Allow me address that young man who is saying that he's not intending to do. You have not been to school. You have already studied. And to solve the problems of the world, you need to open books. And I can see the sky is the lower limit for you, Douglas. So never give up. Where your parents have stopped you, carry on from there. We are getting out of the scene. Who is going to take over from us? Javan, you are listening as well. Miriam, you are doing pretty good.
So Douglas Najevan, Mrudi Shule.
You're heading there, Professor.
All right, so let's just get into a conversation. And before we get into what people say, because we know today is on a Monday, meaning over the weekend there was a lot of political activities, church visits by political leaders and all that. But before we get into that, there is this piece, an opinion piece here, that has been written by Reverend Mutava Musimi, and it is on page 5 of the Star newspaper. And he started there, and then somewhere down there in the middle, he's saying, by and large, BBI will address some of the 20% pending issues. My only concern is that it would have been good if we allowed for more consensus building. The church, for instance, has raised pertinent issues. One issue of concern is the socioeconomic audit, was the cost of running the government, whether it is the executive, the cost of representation, the cost of commissions. Generally, we thought the cost of running government was high. Those are the concerns of Reverend Mutava Musimi. And then he continues to say, has BBI addressed it? I think there are those we could have done much better. We had a window in BBI that we would have used, but I do not want to take position one way or the other since I signed for the BBI. I do not want to be hypocritical. I signed in the report. So he's saying he signed, he's supporting the BBI process, but there are some things that he's saying perhaps would have been made better, would have been addressed better there. And that is according to Reverend Mutava Musimi. So there's a part there he's saying the church, for instance, has raised pertinent issues. And Professor, this is a conversation we've been having over and over and over and over. And we saw the outgoing bishop of Asitam Church, Bishop David Oginde, also raising the same issues when President Uhuru Kenyatta was at the church. They were for the ordination of the incoming bishop there of Christ is the Answer Ministries, and they also brought up the issues of the church, wants this train to be stopped because the church has been left behind, and the church wants to join in the process and want to be included in the process. And a lot of Kenyans, especially for those who took their time to take their views to the steering committee, would wondering, this church, where was it? Was it under a cave somewhere? Was it out of the country? Who is the church? Who really is the church, and why did they not use the 2-year period to give their views?
Miriam, I have been on record here, and I want to reiterate that I admire Alexander Muge, Bishop Alexander Muge, Bishop Henry Okuru, Bishop Gitari, Archbishop Mwana Wanzeki. I admire Manasseh Sukuria. I admire Reverend Njoya Miriam. I admire the rights of Cardinal Tunga Miriam. These were the men and the women. These are men of God who could come forward, Miriam, and speak things the way they are. They cannot call a spoon, a big spoon, to call it a spade. They call it a spade. Miriam, these were not the respecter of persons, Miriam. These are people in the 1990s when I was growing up, Miriam, you could go to church and every other Sunday, they will read what we call pastoral letters, Miriam, giving the direction to their members on the way forward to the kind of life they are facing, the challenges of life, Miriam. These are the people, Miriam, who gave us hope to fight for multi-party democracy in this country, Miriam. These are the people who gave us hope to fight for the new constitution, Miriam. These are the people who stood for what is right, Miriam. And let me just be able to tell my fellow friends, Miriam, life does not go your way. That's how life is not fair. It will never be fair. The lion in the jungle, Miriam. Do you know that sometimes there's a day it sleeps angry? And for the lion to be alive, Miriam, the gazelle, the zebras, and the giraffe, or other animals, they must be dead for it to be alive. And when Miriam, the lion, is injured, Miriam, it starves and to death. Nobody takes food to eat, Miriam. Mm-hmm. What am I trying to say, Miriam? BBI, Miriam, cannot go either way for everybody, neither myself or Kili or Douglas or Chevan. This is a process which has been there. And in fact, Miriam, for the conversation and the constitutional making in this country, Miriam, which is a product of 2010, Miriam, this process has been very consultative, Miriam. with a lot of respect, with people being given opportunities, Miriam, to represent your views personally, to send by email, to call them Miriam, to go to town of Miriam, because they went around Miriam. So Miriam, when someone comes at 11 hours in a time like this, saying that this was not captured Miriam, who tells them, Miriam, that what the kind of document we are going to make, Miriam? Are we the generation who are living for the last time? Other generations will come. They will appreciate what we have done. And what they are not happy with, they will be able to correct. Miriam, in 2010, I was being misled. I was almost being misled to oppose the 2010 Constitution. But when I met the then ambassador for United States of America, Michael Ramba, we had a conversation with Miriam. And then I agreed to support this Constitution. Those who were against the Constitution of 2010, Miriam, the church was there. The deputy president and his troops were there, Miriam. I thought when an opportunity like this came, Miriam, they were the very first people who could have gone to give their views, Miriam. Miriam, my training here is when someone is telling you this thing, I always tell you that the opposite is true. These people are not asking for consensus. Those people does not mean well for this country, Miriam. These are the people who are opposing this document, Miriam. They are only telling Miriam, how does someone come at this point, Miriam, unless there's something going wrong with their thinking and the way of their perception, Miriam, asking for consensus. I am one man, Miriam, whom you know, who is opposed to consensus. That is not democracy. Democracy, you take a position, I take my position. We debate. I convinced you, Miriam. I was in Ram, Miriam. I found young people there who were totally opposed to the BBI. But I took time to lecture them and show them, Miriam. And then they said, yes, we can see from your side. Miriam, BBI. I have no doubt, Miriam. If people were to say that if I were Baba to read for them and I tell them it is a good document, Miriam, it is a good document. It will take this country forward. Another 10 years will come from today, Miriam. Those who will not be able to have captured Miriam. In any event, Miriam, the Constitution says, Miriam, if you feel nothing if you think you have got support, you have got supporters, and you feel what you are telling us has not been captured, Miriam, what stops them in 2023, in 2024, in 2025, correcting a Miriam signatures? Kid is here, Mwanga is here. He can prepare them a referendum question, Miriam. He can prepare them for a bill for Miriam. And Miriam, if it is good, they can present to the people of Kenya. They are totally causing confusion, Miriam. However, I pray, Miriam, up to the point when more than 5 million signatures have been corrected, you are talking about consensus? David Paul was saying to the Galatians, who bewitched them? Who has bewitched my fellow clergyman, Miriam? Who has really bewitched them?
All right, very well. Thank you so much, Professor, and Doctor, of course, is watching. Doctor, very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. Now, Javen, when you hear all these, church leaders coming out and saying, the church has been left behind, the church has this to say, we know very well the Kenyan population, 80% of us in the papers are Christians. So in the 2010 Constitution, also the church took a position, the church leadership took a position, and they say they're going to vote no. But as it is, majority of Kenyans, who I will assume are Christians, went ahead and voted whichever way they wanted against the leadership of the church. So when these church leaders come out to say, the church has been left behind, the church is this, the church is the other one, and we've seen Kenyans will do whatever they want anyway, according to the democracy that we have in this country. So when they come out, who are they speaking on their behalf? Are they speaking on behalf of Kenyans or behalf of themselves and the interests they represent?
Yeah, Miriam, thank you very much for that a good question at this point. And let me answer you directly. These members of the church, the pastoral leaders, they don't represent the congregation that they lead. They represent their own personal, individual-based interest. And to some extent, Miriam, some of these pastors, they are more into politics than in the Christianity way. That is why we find the church that we have today, the modern day church, have turned to be a political arena where you see the members of the politicians going to this church every Sunday, and they go there not for the soul of worshiping, but for the sole purpose of playing politics in the places of worship. Therefore, that reduces the magnitude that we held in the church. And let's look at from 2010. The church was opposed to the constitution that today they are supporting. What changed? This constitution have not been amended. The constitution is still intact the way it was in 2010. They should be the first people to support these changes, because then they told us that this document was not good. It was not prosperous for this to take this country forward. Therefore, that on itself brings a church that is uncertain on the direction they want to take their congregation. Therefore, from where I sit, and I see that. And the number two thing, we have a divided church, a church which speaks from all corners of their tongue. You see, we have a church which is supporting the BBI church, some church bishops. We have some of them who are opposing. Therefore, at the end of the day, we see a church that is not concerned with the interest of the congregation, but for their own congregation. Because if they would be speaking in one voice, we could see all the members of the church from all denominations coming together to give a pressure, and they say this is our. But all these members of the church, they give their pressure from different sides, from where and wherever they are. Therefore, that on itself is not a good gesture of the church that we have. And Miriam, 80% of these people in this country, being Christians, and the way things are run in this country, the high rate of corruption, even in our churches in this country and the other institutions, that points out that we have a culture that we are just Christians by names, but in deeds we are not. We are just pagans. We are just people who don't trust. Because if we followed the works and the steps of Jesus Christ, this country with 80% of Christians, it could not be where we are. Therefore, we have hypocrites, we have pretenders, and all these people is what is described in the book of Matthew as those people who wash the cup from outside, but inside they are full of dirt. Right. That is exactly the church that we are having, and that is why we have ruined a congregation.
All right. Very well. Thank you so much. Now, Douglas, Jevan there has pointed that in 2010, and even Professor has said that, in 2010, the church, right? They came out and they said we had a problem. They had a problem with parts of the Constitution then, the promulgated Constitution, and so they said because of this and this and these issues, we're going to vote no for that Constitution. Funny enough, the Constitution passed, and now we have a new Constitution that was promulgated in 2010. And right now, the same issues they had a problem with is still in that Constitution, but those are not the issues they're having a problem with. Now they're having other problems with the proposed changes there in the Constitution contained in the BBI report. So when they come out to speak, and even the last time, they came out and they said, us as a church, we are not supporting this process. But Kenyans, majority of them Christians, went ahead and voted in whichever way they wanted. And of course, the yes team carried the day there. So now as it is, they're coming out and they're saying they laid bare some of the things they say they had a problem with, which is not the same things they had a problem with in 2010. When these church leaders come out to speak, because when I go to church, first of all, I do not want to hear my pastor or my bishop or my church leader there talking to me about politics. I want my spiritual nourishment, and perhaps Kenyans in their mind, they know how to separate that, even though our church leaders don't know how to separate politics from spiritual nourishment that the church leaders are supposed to be offering. I don't want you to tell me how to vote. I will vote how I deem fit for me as a Kenyan, because some of the things that I go through are not the same things that you go through. If anything, I pay my tithe, I pay my money, you live a very good life, courtesy of my, the monies you pay in church. So your realities might be different, and your interest might be different from me, say as a Nairobian who needs good street lights, who needs good roads, who needs security, who needs some of those things addressed. And maybe where I even stay is not the same place you stay as a pastor, because our offerings and tithings have offered you to stay in a better place, all right? That is the situation in a lot of our church leaders and our churches today. And so that is not what I want to hear you tell me, how to vote. That is not your place. For me, as a Kenyan, and I am a Christian, I'm a believer, but the minute my pastor at the pulpit will start talking to me about politics, that is the time I'll stop going to that church. Thank God my church, we don't do that. But now, is it time these church leaders who feel they can take, stand on some of these matters politically, for them to speak on their behalf and not behalf of the church, as if they're speaking for the 80% of us all here in the country? Should they say, this is my position as bishop so-and-so, and not think that everybody's supporting their position? Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. That question is very profound. I'm a adherent of the Catholic faith, and my bishop in Meru, Bishop Saresius Mugambi, does not speak for us as the congregants of the Meru Diocese. And also wherever the bishop speaks in Nairobi at the College of Bishops and all that, he does not speak for me as Douglas Mundi Kiremi, because the bishop knows very well that we are diverse in our opinions and all that. But one thing I would like to ask the church leaders, in 2010, they almost misread Kenyans and they took a whole 43% to say no to the Constitution of 2010. One thing I would ask them is that they need to come together and form a caucus that will focus on representing their own personal views on national issues, especially their wives and children, but not us. But if their children are also of age, they can also let them decide on their own. If their wives also cannot be able to move on, they can also be able to think for themselves their own, because even their family members cannot be able to do that. And I'm saying that without any bias. My brother is a Catholic priest. He does not speak for me, and he cannot advise me on political course that I shall be able to take. He cannot give us political direction as a family. Where will he get the courage to go and speak on behalf of millions of Kenyans? He cannot be able to do that. And in 2010, we saw Kenyans defy these bishops and also church leaders, because like the good professor said, Professor Jared Onyari said, the bishops and also the clergy has morphed into something else than what was there before, when we had the rights of Bishop Muge, Alexander Muge, and others. They were people who would give the state sleepless nights and also agitated for the rights of Kenyans. Today, bishops and the pastors, they will agitate for your right when you also give them something to eat. But at this point in time, we have nothing to give them to eat. We have been giving them enough money in terms of tithes and also Sandaka. At this point in time, Kenyans have also decided to be able to think for themselves. When these pastors speak, they speak like Karanja said, they speak from one side of their mouth. They eat from this other side, they will speak well of you. The next minute they eat from the other side, they speak well of you. So Miriam, history will record Kenyans as a democratic nation, and also the very democratic people, because they have chosen not to listen to their church leaders. Their spiritual leaders are not their political leaders. And like I've said before, our political direction should not take the road that our spiritual direction has taken, because we have seen these people who have also coerced and also mobbed around a group for Tangatanga to agitate for deputy president, because he is giving them handouts every Sunday. We have seen another group of pastors who have now felt that the deputy president and also the president side has sidelined them in terms of giving them something to eat. It is about their stomachs, Miriam. It is about their greed. It is about their need for more and more and more. And it's not even about Kenyans. The Reverend Mutava Musimi, whatever statement he gave as a political leader and also as a church leader, because he was an MP for over 10 years in Gashoka. And Miriam, at this point in time, we need to tell them the truth. We cannot be able to let them decide the destiny of this nation. And we thank them for their spiritual nourishment. But in terms of political matters, we are on our own, and we shall chart our own destiny. Thank you.
All right, very well. And also we're joined by Daniel Wisonga. Daniel, good morning. Is it Daniel?
It's Kiddy.
Kiddy. Kiddy, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning and good afternoon to our viewers in East Africa and around the world. It's nice to join you here.
All right, thank you so much, Kiddy, and a very good morning to you and welcome to the show. And now when you go to church, I don't know if you go to church, I do, but when I go to church, I'm not going there for my pastor or my bishop or my spiritual leader to advise me on my political decisions. That is not what is taking me to church. I don't know. Why do you go to church?
we go to church because we human beings are believers by whichever dimension you look at it. Human beings generally believe in existence of a power that is higher than them. So there is a God, whatever that is, that means to you. So that some of us have therefore chosen to follow the path of Christianity, an Abrahamic faith that believes that there is God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, and then that God created the heavens and earth, and that everything on earth must worship him. But then I must hasten to add that there is a reason why the drafters of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, in their infinite wisdom, at Article 8 of the Constitution provided that there shall be a distinction between church and state. Because church is supposed to respond to spiritual matters, or matters of faith. But then governance of a polity is premised on the free will of the people. And that is how democracy came about. That ordinary people surrendering their sovereignty to the governor, who then exercises it for the benefit of all. When I talk about matters, about the interference of the church with the matters of the governance and state, I beg to quote from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, that says that for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. I will say without battling an eyelid that the current crop of church leadership has lost the moral authority to guide the populace on matters of governance. And I will illustrate, if you permit me, the latitude too. In the Jubilee first term, we had what was called Arambes, which were taking place every Saturday. And millions of shillings were poured around. Time has proved that those monies, millions of shillings that were poured around, dried up when President Kenyatta, in his infinite wisdom, slammed brakes on avenues of corruption. So that is a clear demonstration that those monies were proceeds of corruption, and those schemes were, perfect money laundering avenues. So that what happens in first term is that people who are now opposed to the BBI process created a complex network, corruption network, through which they were siphoning monies from the state. And then they were using church as partners to siphon this money and launder this money and bring this money back into our financial system. What happens is that why governments globally fight money laundering is that money laundering can collapse the economy. So that when today they are telling us that the economy cannot sustain a referendum, it is in part because of the vices they engage in with their masters in the political circles, whom we are not afraid to mention, because these are the people who are giving them these millions of shillings. Today, we have had this process in 2 years, and the church is saying that they've not been involved. What greater insult of intellect of the people of Kenya than that can we witness? Because if they wanted to, you can take a donkey to the river but cannot force it to drink water. If the church leadership wanted to engage itself in the BBI process, they would have taken advantage of this process from 2018. But let me tell you why the church is coming up with this. I have said that they are a decoy for the faceless and the gluttonous political class. One of the people who are bitter with Raila Odinga, that Raila Odinga embraced his brother, the president, are saying that Raila Odinga did not engage the president through a structured dialogue. Why did they want a structured dialogue? Because through a structured dialogue, they would have found an opportunity to grandstand. And in the process of grandstanding, they would have gone in through what we call a rent-seeking spree. So so that they extort money from this side of the divide, then they cross over at night and collect more money, so that by the time you are done with that process, they've become into instant billionaires. But because there was need to move the country forward, and within a short period of time, the president, having known how these people operate, and Raila Odinga, having utmost good faith, decided to close ranks very fast. And then instead of engaging these political horse traders, they decided to engage the people of Kenya directly. That is why they asked the people of Kenya to submit their views first to the task force. When the task force unveiled its report, they said the report was not sufficient. Then a time was given to them again under the steering committee. I will confirm to you that I am a Christian who has fellowshiped with CITAM for quite some time. And David Oginde is my spiritual, has been my spiritual authority. I participated in BBI 1, I participated in BBI 2, so that during that time when I was participating both at individual level and at corporate level, they would also have organized themselves and showed up. Because they did not show up, that impugns bad faith on their part. And therefore, attempts to tell us that we mold consensus now is to buy time, so that the next time we lift our heads, we are told, hey, gentlemen, it's too late. Instead of a referendum, let's go for 2022, and we shall have lost this golden opportunity to fix our political institutions, and especially a homegrown political answer to our problems. Thank you.
All right. And Kidi, I do fellowship at CITAM every now and then, and Bishop David Oginde is a very good teacher. He teaches the word very well. But I think on this one, when it comes to the consensus he's calling on the BBI, Kenyans are wondering, Bishop, where were you? And when you speak about the church has been left behind, are you speaking on your own behalf or the membership of your church? I don't know. Professor, you want to respond to what Kidi was saying there.
Before I let Professor speak, I must mention on this show to our viewers, both locally and abroad, and to members of CITAM, that some of us have chosen to respectfully disagree with His Eminence the Bishop.
All right. Okay. Professor.
Miriam, let me just say, Chavan is a Christian. Douglas is a Christian.
We're all Christians here.
He's a Christian. Myself, I'm Christian, and we go to a church. And Miriam, let me tell you, do you know where I signed my signature for calling for the referendum? Tana River. That's where it found me, and I had signed there. So Miriam, and I want to agree 100% with my brother Kidi that these people, there is something they are not telling us. And let me tell you, Miriam, you can see so many attempts which have been put forward. Oh, it is creating a position for people. Oh, it is taking all these things. Even as much as the other day, they went and saw the president, and their views were in fact captured as you opened the new constitution. What else do they need? And I've said, Miriam, you cannot please everybody. And let me tell you, Miriam, as much as you think that we agree with their consensus, there will be other Kenyans who will come and they will oppose. I'm telling you the truth. Yeah, we will agree, let us agree with what they are telling, what they are saying, fine. But there are other Kenyans who will come and now start also demanding another consensus. So in fact, Miriam, I am very sure with what Kidi has said that these people are after buying time. And Miriam, let me tell you, if by March, a direction has not been given when there is a referendum, we are already done.
All right.
Miriam,
go ahead.
In 2010, the church was against the new constitution. Even today, nothing has changed. We urge all the bishops and their leaders around to represent their opinion and also go and vote for no. We are not going to entertain them for a very long time. The president called those that wanted to go to State House and they gave their voice. And also the president recognized that their views were important and they were captured. But at this point in time, Miriam, we are calling them to go for the no, where they are used to. The church has never supported any reforms in this nation. The current church has not spoken against any justice in this nation. The only thing they have done is They want to be invited on the table to eat something they have not participated in getting when Kenyans are dying of hunger. How we can ask them is now to go ahead and oppose the BBI report as they have done with the constitution, the most progressive constitution of the Republic of Kenya across the world. The professor knows it is touted as one of the most progressive constitutions around the world. The church, their voice, and these readers, their voices were not heard in this constitution, Miriam. And at this point in time, they need to go ahead and oppose this thing at the no referendum, which is coming at 21st of June 2021. We have nothing else to offer them.
All right. Okay, so we turn our attention to page 5 of the Standard newspaper. Deputy President William Ruto has said the country should only focus on dealing with coronavirus pandemic, health workers strike, and improving infrastructure in public schools ahead of reopening. And speaking in Voi yesterday, the DP stressed the need to have the right priorities to effectively deal with the challenges facing Kenyans. Ruto was addressing Anglican Church of Kenya faithful in Voi town yesterday during a church service. The DP, who arrived in the county on Saturday evening, joined by SCK Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit and local leaders during the opening of the consecration service of St. Peter's Cathedral Diocese in Voi town. And let's just go there. All right, Ruto said the government was currently negotiating with the striking health workers with a view to finding a lasting solution to their demands. Very well. He spoke there like the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya because he's given us the government position. And then it continues. The DP further urged Kenyans to continue following the laid down health regulations to avert the rapid spread of pandemic that has so far claimed many lives. Like I've said, I don't want to hear Ruto speaking about the pandemic until he apologizes to Kenyans on his role. The rallies that he used to have there, him and other political leaders really helped in spreading coronavirus like wildfire, and they've not come out to apologize for their part. So no, until I hear an apology from him and other politicians, no sir. And also we should put our priorities and resources right by supporting children to go back to school next year, maintain the DP now. So that last part before we come on to Ruto, our Deputy President William Ruto is saying that we have some more pressing issues in the country, and I agree with him to some degree, and that is we should put all our focus in dealing with the pandemic, health worker strike, and improving infrastructure in public schools ahead of reopening. But what I have a problem with down here is he's quoted as saying we should put our priorities and resources right by supporting children to go back to school. What I would have wanted to hear from the DP, the same way he's come out and said the government is currently negotiating with the striking health workers, meaning he understands what is happening and he's giving us the government's position. So when it comes to the schools opening next year, I do not want to hear the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya lamenting the same way a parent is lamenting somewhere, wondering what is the government doing, what are the measures the government has put in place to ensure that even as our children gets ready to resume their studies in January, they will be safe. They're waiting for that assurance. So instead of the DP coming out and telling us, this is what my government is doing, and on behalf of government, this is some of the measures we've put in place. These are some of the issues and the challenges we're trying to address so that we ensure our children, when they get ready to go back to school on the 4th of January, they will be safe. So by him coming out and saying, now let's all resources should be put and priorities should be put in supporting our children getting back to school. What I would have wanted to hear from a Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya is telling us how the government that is part of is handling that matter and is ensuring that our children will be safe when they get back to school in January, not lamenting and not seeming as though he has no clue what is really happening there, because this seems to be the case. I don't know, Javan, what do you make of DP's sentiments there?
Thank you very much, Miriam. One thing that we must agree, we had been having this COVID-19 from March when the first case was reported by our CS Cabinet Health, Mutahi Kagwe, and he came out clear that we had the mechanism and measures put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19. But when we came and we were almost successful in that bid, we had our politicians risking our lives when they started gathering people around their political rallies without observing the protocols that the government had given in place. Therefore, that is when we got the second wave of the COVID-19 that is quite ravaging, because we have seen the numbers of death increase. Therefore, as a politician and from the deputy president side, and also as a politician, the politicians who went around without observing these protocols, they are the first people to be called in order when they address this issue. They should be the last people to speak of the COVID-19 issue, because at the end of the day, they have set fire and they disappeared. They didn't come with water. Miriam, you know, you come with the fire extinguisher when you do such a thing, but they are not giving us solutions to this pandemic. They are just lamenting and crying out loud than anybody else. And therefore, on that issue, I blame the politicians who did not observe the protocols of curb the spread of COVID-19. And when the deputy president and other politicians tell us that we should stop everything else, we had been having a BBI for the last 2 years. They didn't speak of stopping the process, but they were fighting the process. But now, because they seem to be to attract some sympathetic audience from the masses of this country, that is why they're using the issue of COVID-19 as a bait in order not to support the ongoing BBI process, because there's no other way that they can feel like they can stop this process. And when they talk of putting our priorities right, we understand we have an ongoing process, an economic recovery strategy that will ensure that after we deal with the pre and post COVID-19 economic recovery strategy, that will ensure that the jobs that were lost, Kenyans who are suffering, how do we recover on that? Therefore, as a government official, you should also understand that the government is working on that priority. And the number two thing, they should not tell us that BBI is not a priority. It is also a priority, because we have a lot of priorities in this country. We have the Likoni floating bridge that was made when we had COVID-19. We have roads that are being made when we have constructed when we have COVID-19. Therefore, when they talk of priorities, everything that we are talking about, every government agenda is structured with the priorities of Kenyans. Other teams are dealing, thank you. Yeah, as other teams are dealing with COVID-19, we have a team that is dealing with a constitutional amendment process that will make Kenya great, that will make Kenya better, and in future that will ensure that we have good leaders that will be able to mitigate on such crises if they arise in future. That is what the BBI intends to bring in board. Therefore, anybody else who talks of BBI not being a priority, they should also understand that it's also a priority, because you have seen the uncertainty, the kind of confusion, the violence that erupts when we have a disputed election, the kind of loss that you have suffered because of failed institutions, when we have failure in coordination between arms of government in matters of dealing with corruption. Therefore, these are some of things. And the medium corruption is more dangerous than COVID-19 because it denies us Kenyans basic facilities that we need. That is why it is even impossible for common Kenyans to afford a ventilator in our institution because of corruption. If we want to deal with these all things, let's deal with what has been affecting us. And this one, COVID-19 will come and go, but Kenya will remain. BBI is a long-term process, but COVID-19 is a short-term process. That is why we are using short-term mechanisms to deal with it. But on the issue of BBI, this is a long-term process of healing this nation. And when we do that, Miriam, all things included, this country will move on. Therefore, nobody is failing on their duty. The government is on course. And Miriam, on matters of priorities, when the government was giving roads, when the government was giving bridges and good facilities to Kenyans, and the KU hospitals, Othaya hospitals, and other good markets, and you go to Shaka markets and so on, and Kongoya market in Mombasa, William Ruto, the deputy president, with all due respect, he was giving us wheelbarrows, spoons, sufurias, and muikos. That was a misplaced priorities. Therefore, on his case, he should also tell us he has also been a culprit of having and going in the wrong priorities when Kenyans need employment and development.
All right, Douglas, I know you find that to be funny, and I'll yes.
I want intervention before I check out.
Okay, go ahead.
Miriam, I'm one man who believes that people change. I'm one man who believes in the forgiveness and reconciliation. But I'm one man who does not want to have my brain like the one of a Watho. Go and see a Watho going to the river to drink water. A crocodile comes, almost grabs the red, it runs and it goes back. Miriam, here our deputy president saying all our priorities should be put towards fighting COVID-19. That's a brilliant idea.
Absolutely.
Everybody should support him. But who was telling us the other day that he's happy that the money which was meant for COVID was being stolen? He was happy. Who was that? The Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. Miriam, who was that when our 21 billion were disappearing from Kimarara and Arroyo Dam? He only told us it is only 7 billion, as if 7 billion is 7 shillings, Miriam. Miriam, I want to hear the Deputy President saying, even towards BBI, he represents a paper he has written to BBI to say that this is what he wants. You don't just go to a funeral or a public rally and you make views and you think that's how the country or rules are changed. You document. Who will write because you have said in a funeral or in an Arambe that this is what you want to do? He is playing politics, Miriam. Hear him speak, Miriam, that he's engaging doctors. You are engaging doctors. Yes, the doctors should be engaged. That is his government. But Miriam, look at the demands of the doctors are making, Miriam. And let us speak the truth because the truth is set us free. Miriam, we are in the middle of a pandemic. We are fighting war. We must be able to provide our front workers, health workers, Miriam, with all that they need to fight the pandemic. But is it the time to ask for the salary increment? Is it the salary to ask for an allowance, Miriam? That will be the highest sign of hypocrisy and being unpatriotic, Miriam. And now the deputy president wants to turn around and appear Mr. Nice that is engaging the doctors. Which doctors is he engaging? Miriam, policies are made when people sit together and they sober up. You don't go to a political rally and you're trying to say that you are engaging the doctors. I'm sure there's no doctor is engaging. And we don't have that kind of memory for him to write to us. I am on the forefront of Miriam saying, Miriam, that our doctors should be given with BBEs, Miriam, so that they can feel protected, Miriam. But at this point in time, Miriam, everybody is asking 30,000 allowance. Everybody is asking the salary increment allowance, Miriam. Where will the money come from? Miriam, let us look at the deputy president, Miriam. The year between him and 2013, what he was. 2013 and 2017, what he has amassed from this country, Miriam. How do you steal from the people of Kenya and then you come now turn around and you want to be their savior? I said I believe in reconciliation, Miriam. I believe in forgiveness, Miriam. And if he has become like Zacchaeus, Miriam, that he has made Jesus Christ, Miriam, can he declare to return 4 times of the things he has taken from the people of Kenya? It is just an insult for those of us who detest corruption. BBI is fighting corruption, and that's what this is. That's why it's opposed to BBI. He is coming to come all with all tricks, Miriam, so that BBI can stop. But God is with the people of Kenya. Let us not use the unfortunate event of the coronavirus, Miriam, to incite our doctors. Miriam, we are widely read. We compare notes. We know what's happening all over the world. You want to tell me it is only Kenya where the health workers are dying? You want to make us believe like that? You want to believe that the doctors in the United States of America, even in UK and other countries, Miriam, that they are demanding for the salary increment and house allowance, Miriam? That is the highest level of incitement, and the deputy president should be told to stop and support the president. The president is working under pressure. And imagine, Miriam, sometimes God loves this country. How could this country have been if Baba could have been in the opposition continuing to resist? Do you think you could have Kenya? So the time has come, like the late Professor Choice I thought said, that we put the country forward. And I agree. I was on the record on what we say that the BBI, which are running at KEMSA, people have stolen for us. Kidi will say that they are experts. No, we procured those things not to be experts, but to protect and support the people of Kenya, Miriam. What does it help, Miriam? Let us lose 2 billion, but but save one life. And I'm here on Parliament and on the Senate and the Minister of Health, Miriam. They have come forward and saying that those PPI must be sold at a loss so that the doctors get PPI. This is the kind of conversation, Miriam, I want us to engage ourselves. But some of the things which you are trying to insinuate to appear that you are now fighting the people of Kenya, he must be able to come forward and return 4 times of the things he has taken from the people of Kenya if he wants us to believe that he has met Jesus Christ and he has reformed. Let him stop cheap politics, Miriam, from the office of the deputy president, that now every other time you want to appear. No, Miriam, let him just help his boss. Let him just go and help the president create his, finish his records and create his records. That's what you need to do. That's how I submit, Miriam. Let us remove politics from the pandemic. It is very unfortunate. And what have you seen, Miriam? Some of even his friends are the ones who have taken money from KEMSA, Miriam. Some of his friends. Some of his people who are having the Tanga movement, Miriam. Miriam, who was the other day moving all over the country, Miriam, spreading the COVID-19. Who were having his members of parliament and his supporters, Miriam, calling coronavirus, Miriam, Homer. Dismas, Honorable Dismas, Barasa. Why I call him honorable? Because an honorable person does not behave like that. And you do not, and they speak in your own hearing, and you don't remind them. Miriam, let me tell you, what has Dr. William Ruto said about corona? What has he advised Kenyans? Have you ever had him advise Kenyans to keep protocol, to keep social distance, to wear a mask, to wash hands? Miriam is spare us, but let us continue praying. And I've said that I entirely believe in the forgiveness and the conciliation. If he means well, and if that's what he means, let us team up. Miriam, when we are at war, women do cook for men who are at war. Children continue gathering. Everybody is doing something. Let us not leave this one to the president, Miriam, alone to engage the doctors, Miriam. The doctors, the health workers must be engaged by everybody, Miriam. And this is why I want to even use this platform to appeal to our doctors, Miriam. What will the money help them if we give them the money today? And the Kenyans who have lost their life, people who have lost their spouses, people who have lost their children, people who have lost their parents, Miriam, and we have given you that money now. Now sit enjoying that money, and the children are here crying like orphans because their parents went to the hospital and they will not be attended. I'm trying to tell the doctors, you have done extremely well from independence to bring this country to where it is. Don't destroy this country at this time of the pandemic. And here the likes of the Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto, trying to give suggestions that he is engaging you. He's not engaging you. In any event, he wants the government not to engage you so that he can have something to tell the Kenyans. Thank you, Miriam.
All right, Professor Jared Onyari, thank you so much. Akidi, our DP there is saying, let us get our priorities right. And down there he said we should put our priorities and resources right by supporting children to go back to school next year. And I agree with what he's saying, except, Kiddy, that should come from me and you, because we are the citizens of this country, and we're sitting here hoping that the government is making the required preparations to ensure that even our children get ready to resume the schools next year. They will be safe. So for DP, I would expect as a Kenyan, he will come and say, now this is what the government that I'm part of, that I'm the deputy president of, this is what the government is doing. But instead he's sounding like me and you, Kiddy. What do you make of this? And when he says, let us get our priorities right, what does he mean by this?
Well, thank you, Miriam. In responding to that question, William Ruto has attempted to sell himself to the people of Kenya as a God-fearing person, as a Christian and whatnot. But then I beg to, as a preface to my answer, to remind him of what the Bible says in the book of Proverbs 16 and 17. And the good book says that these 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 are abomination unto him. 1, a proud look. 2, a lying tongue. And 3, hands that shed innocent blood. And I will end it there. 1, part of the huge toll, the huge infection rate that we have in Kenya today is courtesy of the desensitization by the political class. And these are the political class politicians who allied to the deputy president. People who felt that they could use anything to get back at the government for supposedly not pandering to their political whims. And in desensitizing the people of Kenya, a lot of people who took their words seriously did not take the precautionary measures that the government was putting in place, like social distance and wearing of face masks and washing hands. And as a result, a lot of people are affected. Some have died. Some are living with the consequences of having been infected and healed. And so, courtesy of his life, he has shed innocent blood. It is an opportunity for us to remind him that those are things that the Lord that he claims to serve hates. Further and significantly is that William Ruto and the company think that people of Kenya have got such a short memory. The tragedy is that, or the saving grace is that people of Kenya do not have short memory. Because we have seen that every time William Ruto has had to make decisions, he has tried in duping the people of Kenya while he does the reverse. So that the only thing that matters to him is making an extra dime, lining his pockets, creating people around him as multi-billionaires to the expense of the ordinary people. Because William Ruto in the last 8 years has not ensured that he used the immense power that is endowed in his office of the deputy president to make sure that we safeguard the interest of the healthcare workers in this country. We remember the debacle that was the 2015 whatever about the health sector. William Ruto didn't say anything. If anything, in 2016, he was asking doctors to disengage from industrial action. One thing we are reminding the doctors right now, and I want to reiterate the same thing that Raila Odinga said, and everyone went wild, that it does not demonstrate patriotism when in the middle of a crisis is when you are asking for salary increase. We know that maybe certain things have not gone right, like maybe, I'm saying maybe because I'm not sure, that maybe there have been delays in paying salaries. We hope that the Interrelations Government Committee ensures that both levels of government agree on ensuring that there is a timely payment of our doctors. And possibly we go ahead and ensure that there are PPEs. But William Ruto is the last person who should take advantage of the small, failures that are inherent anyway, because we are all humans, to claim that now he has solutions to the people of Kenya in regards to healthcare. As I conclude in answering that question, William Ruto and people around him have attempted to use every example, every time there is an election, to discredit the BBI. For instance, when in the US, Trump refused to concede, they said that there should be a BBI in the US. When my sister Ruth Bolo was here in the morning, and she is an election observer in Ghana, and they are saying that people of Ghana should also have a BBI. Let me call out this idiocy. One, the Electoral Commission in Ghana, by the time we are speaking, has availed all the forms used in that elections, right? Part of what the BBI is seeking to cure here is to reconfigure our IEBC to enhance greater transparency. So that they are forgetting to mention that unlike the IEBC chaired by Chebukati, which 3-4 years down the line has refused to comply with the court order of the highest court in this republic. When you go to the US, that they now want to use they are failing to realize that the problem they are seeing in the US today is a scenario where pure presidential system has demonstrated its own failures, and that they are failing to acknowledge that ultimately an African country like Kenya has raised a genuine governance issue that even an advanced democracy like the US can learn from. I wish these people were being genuine, but everything they say demonstrate that they lack that bona fides. I wish that they were genuine so that they would not put us in this awkward position of constantly calling them out. But because we got to do what we must do, we must make sure that we cure our problems, especially institutional problems, that we can cure through the BBI. If they were genuine, they would have helped President to cure some of these problems, and we would not have had a need for BBI. But because they failed, we must move forward. Thank you.
All right, very well. So, Javan, the DP, they're saying we have priorities that we should look at as a country, and of course the pandemic, that is an urgent thing that the government is trying its best to look at, and the health workers there. And the DP has said the government is engaging and negotiating with the striking health workers right now, and also the issue of our children going back to school. So he's saying that is something that the government should be able to look at, and as a Kenyan, I would expect him to come out and tell us this is what the government is doing, these are the things we've put in place, these are the number of desks the government has bought. He should be giving us a report of what the government is doing, not lamenting as any other Kenyan would do. But also, I'm just wondering, for a curious Kenyan out there, perhaps even the supporter, those who have been supporting DP, there, because he has a huge number of people who support him and who believe in whatever he is advancing, the Hustler Nation, if I may put it that way. And so just the other day they met, the leaders allied to him, and they came out and said, all right, so we have 5 things, or rather 6, that we would like to add. That is our irreducible minimum. I've not heard him talk about this in the last few days. That has not come up anymore. So meaning maybe they realized after the signatures were submitted that there's no chance of changing anything in that BBI report. So now, do you think by him now turning and saying we have other priorities, and I agree, these are priorities that we have here in the country, and these are things that touch on Kenyans' lives. But do you think if whatever he was proposing was included in that report, do you think he'll be saying the same thing? Or is it now it's just another way a tune he's changing, because now he knows well and good those things that they had demanded for, it's way past the time. There's no way, if we were to follow the law, that they will find their way into the constitution, those changes he wanted. And so now he's turned tune and he's saying, now we have priorities. And I agree, these are things that are important to Kenyans, so we cannot minimize them. But still, do you think if his concerns were taken into account, his latest concerns, because the first ones, majority of them are considered and included in the BBI report, but the latest, the reducible minimums, which nobody now is talking about from his camp, especially him, if at all they were considered, will he be speaking on the same way he's doing right now?
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that question. And one thing we must agree, and I will talk it from the Deputy President, and he has said it, is that the team of the BBI is considerate because they put his reservations into consideration. And that is why we had the issue of IBC looked into, the issue of the Independent Judiciary Office of Ombudsman looked into, and the issue of the National Police Council was put into consideration. And I agree that that team of the BBI, from the onset, and as they are telling us that the BBI is about bringing inclusivity, we have seen it manifest in this issue. One thing, Miriam, the Deputy President and those people who support him and the church and the civil society were genuine with their concerns. We could have seen them support the document because some of their concerns were put into consideration. And we must also understand that not all our views will be included in that document, because we are in diverse a country where we have more and communities making this bigger, huge family called Kenya. Therefore, if Miriam will reduce the BBI process to be a process of few individuals to present and to guarantee their well-being in the political arena, in the civil society, or in the church, then Miriam, we are losing the bigger picture of what the BBI intends to bring. That is why we are giving an opportunity to all Kenyans to make their submissions. Some of them were not captured, but we are hopeful that in future we'll have a new window to amend the constitution. Even if BBI fails to go through, Miriam, we'll have a new window. Kenyans will feel the need to change this constitution. And one thing about constitution is not a rigid document. And I heard the president also reiterate the same during Jamhuri Day. It's something that keeps on changing. It's a dynamic document, and the constitution is there to work for the people, but not people to just keep on working for the constitution. You get that. Therefore, we must also look into that. And these people, Miriam, when they tell us that they need more changes to be included, then we are not about creating and giving room for a few individuals. It's about Kenyans. Because if we concentrate on those people who are opposing, sidelining the Kenyans who gave their submission, then we are bringing a bit of confusion. And we tend to create a picture where those people who give their submission and they're captured to look inferior and to look like their people and what they said is not making huge sense. And that is not the case in this process. And number two, nobody has superior views. And if they have good views that can change this country, they can as well start their own constitutional amendment process and to capture all what they think is good for this country, because nobody is denied that right to do that. Therefore, that is the case. And finally, Miriam, as I submit this, I feel like the issue with the church, the civil society, and the deputy president camp is the issue of the expanded executive, the issue of the prime minister, the two deputy prime ministers, and the issue of the official opposition leader. If that will be put into consideration, I think that is the only time that people, the church, and the people who follow the deputy president, the civil societies, and the church will come up to support this document, because from the onset, they have been telling us that BBI is about creating positions. If we deal with the issue of positions, then that is the time they will support the document. And when you look at it keenly, it's not about creating positions, because the prime minister will be also a member of parliament. Therefore, he is a legislator. The deputy prime minister will be members of parliament. They are legislators. Therefore, if it's about positions, Miriam, then we should also relook into the issue of the 290 constituency and we reduce them. But nobody is talking about that, because to them, they feel they can secure their position in their respective constituencies. That is the hypocritical nature of it. And Miriam, on the issue of positions, nobody, you know what they are fearing, Miriam? We have this mobilization around our tribes, and if we have this issue of expanded executive, the taste, the sweetness of ethnic mobilization will be eroded. And that is what they are fearing too, because at the end of the day, when we unite our country, Miriam, and this is a situation that I foresee, if BBI goes through and we have our first election in 2022, in 2027, the issue of ethnic mobilization will be done away with, and people now will be shifting on political parties' agendas and manifestos, and that is the thing that they are fearing. That is why they don't want to have expanded executive, so that we can keep on mobilizing the big tribes to oppose or support or to go for a debacle in the elections. And that is what keeps the fabric and the material that holds us together at a risk of erupting, at a risk of crashing. And that is why we end up in the situation that we were in 2007. Thank you.
Thank you, Javan. Douglas.
Asante.
Douglas. All right, so I'll move to Akidi. I'm sure Professor has already left the conversation. Is Professor there? I'm not sure, but Akidi, conclude for us.
One thing is that where the country is, there is an oversimplification that is being done first by William Ruto, and two, by the people whom he has managed to hoodwink. Majority of them are the middle class, smartphone wielding young Kenyans who don't take time to interrogate issues. So that William Ruto shouts that we need to first respond to the pandemic, and then they get into the chorus without interrogating that wait. But someone who is saying that we need to first respond to the pandemic, does he realize that part of our inability to properly respond is because we have a weak infrastructural architecture, a weak infrastructure, health infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And then they also failed to ask, and then William Ruto has been deputy president for the last 8 years. What has he done in his capacity that is outstanding in regards to the health sector? Then there is, they also failed to realize, to interrogate that when William Ruto talks about dynasty as an attempt to disown the BBI process that is about dynasty, they also failed to ask William Ruto, but then wait, part of why you are able to talk about dynasties versus hustlers is that you yourself has presided over a political architecture that has increasingly disinherited the so-called hustlers, so that you are part of the creation of hustlers. And let me illustrate. Maybe I've said this before, but let me say it again. William Ruto made sure that, because the president trusted William in the first term. Mm-hmm. So William made sure that he raided the public coffers and stole so much and had so much money in his private residences that when attempts were made to deface the old 1,000 shillings currency, he again, you remember when some 20 billion was netted by the DCI from Barclays Queensway branch? Those were part of the menace that were going on, part of the menace that took place in the first term, the menace that took place because the president trusted his deputy. And this is a person that now that the people of Kenya have come together to attempt to clear this mess, has chosen the path of playing politics with the lives of the people of Kenya. I wish, I pray that the young people of this country shall not be duped again by failing to interrogate what politicians say, and then they swallow poisoned chalice, hook, line, and sinker. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kidi Mwanga. Thank you, Javan Karanja. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. And thank you so much, Douglas. I don't know if he's back yet, but that's okay. Well, thank you for watching. My name is Miriam Mogotu. I'll see you later. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.